Don't blink.
Top stories tonight.
We strengthen our regional integration.
Leaders from East Africa call for integration and unity amidst challenges.
African community having one market and one vote.
Seasoned politician Waswarule speaks out on Uganda's journey.
I don't agree that when he leaves, that things will necessarily be better.
Also tonight, meet Rachel, the female bus driver working with Don the car.
My passion began when I started driving. That was around 16 years.
And in sports, Arsenal and Liverpool tussle it out in North London. A good day for Uganda as we celebrate the Independence Day, and also a good day for Arsenal as it aces back to the top of the English Premier League. I'm Kalachi Brian with Isaac Lichams. Good evening and welcome to PM Edition. Starting us off, hundreds of Ugandans have today gathered at the Kololo Independence Grounds for Uganda's Independence Day celebrations. During the celebrations, President Museveni spoke of the need for East Africa to integrate. Sarah Nakandi was there and brings you this report.
Hundreds of dignitaries today gathered at Kololo Independence Ground to celebrate 60 years of Uganda's independence.
We also received the President of the Republic of Burundi.
The celebrations were graced by several leaders including Kenya's President William Ruto, Salva Kiir of South Sudan, Hussein Mwinyi of Zanzibar, Hassan Sheikh Mohamud of Somalia, Evariste Ndayishimiye of Burundi, and many others.
General Salva Kiir Mayardit, President of the Republic of South Sudan.
In his speech, the President of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, welcomed the invited guests after he invited all the guests.
Your Excellencies, our two countries are undertaking many joint projects in various fields, notably in the energy and transport sectors. Among those projects is the construction of the East African crude oil pipeline. Therefore, I urge the private sector from both countries to take lead in this mega project. Doing so, the private sector will employ our people and bring better life to our communities.
I urge my counterparts within the East African community to join hands and work together for the common good of all Africans.
Mr. President, I would like to take this opportunity to express our nation's gratitude for the noble sacrifices of young men and women from Uganda and other troop contributing countries in our joint fight against international terrorism.
It is high time we strengthen our regional integration and build a more prosperous and powerful East African community having one market and one voice. This is our ultimate goal as East African, realizing the political federation.
Asante sana mzee.
In his address, William Ruto revealed that it is time for East Africa to break boundaries.
As leaders and as citizens of the East Africa region, for us to work together so that we can transform our borders, which today stand out as barriers, and convert them to bridges so that goods, services, and people can move across this East Africa without any impediments.
President Yoweri Museveni today also spoke out against exploitation from foreigners.
Why should this be tolerated? Why should this be happening in Africa 65 years after Ghana's independence? This crime of donating Africa's resources at a pittance to clever outsiders applies to copper, cobalt, tin, coltan, etc. Any wonder that African youth do not have jobs and must go for semi-slave jobs abroad.
He also revealed that Uganda will continue with the plans to construct the East African crude oil pipeline.
The oil project and other projects are unstoppable. The NLM has always had a correct philosophical, ideological, and strategic grasp of all issues. Nothing can derail us, in spite of the good movement in the world to curb the emissions of the greenhouse gases and move away from oil as fuel for cars. Our oil will remain valuable. We shall still need the oil for textiles like the shirt I normally put on.
President Museveni today revealed that Uganda has made significant strides in the last 60 years.
We have been able to produce kawunga because we used to get kawunga from Kenya. There was no kawunga here, no maize flour. Animal feeds, and we are targeting starch and ethanol.
President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has asked all politicians in Uganda to stop fighting progress which intends to develop Ugandans. Sarah Nakandi for CTV, PM Edition.
As Uganda celebrates its independence, we bring you the pomp and glamour at the Kololo Independence Grounds. Take a look.
Hundreds of people had already started flocking Kololo ceremonial grounds ahead of the Independence Day celebrations for Uganda's 60-year independence anniversary. For some, they didn't wait for the morning cock to crow, and some of these included law enforcers from the different law enforcing institutions, which included Uganda Police, UPDF, and prisons. The venue was beautifully decorated in the nation's colors as heads of state made their way to the occasion. The bands from the various security firms graced the event playing melodious tunes. The flight squads also showcased their skills and flamboyance.
Copters that perform fourth generation multi-role combat tasks.
UPDF spokesperson Brigadier General Felix Kulaije spoke to us on the journey for preparations.
As we celebrate 60 years, indeed we celebrate in a special way. First and foremost, we bring all the capabilities in the defense sector. Always you have had the parade on the ground. Now we went in the air, we also went into paratrooping.
It was clear display of art as paratroopers floated in with parachutes.
First aircrafts that did the fly past were called the caravan, whose role is transportation, casualty evacuation, etc. The second were the transport helicopters that transport people and the supplies. The third one, which was a transport helicopter with a flag, was escorted by Mi-24 attack helicopters. They support in fighting. And the next were Mi-28, the latest attack helicopters on the market. All that is showing Uganda that the resources you have been giving us were built capacity.
The Ugandan flag was hoisted in the presence of the president the day Uganda pulled down the Union flag for the Ugandan flag.
Flag raising ceremony is actually the main event of Independence Day celebrations. And that's why the president must go and witness the ceremony. And other flags will wait. So on the 9th of October, at midnight, 8th to 9th of October, that's what happened to the Union Jack. It was brought down and the national flag of Uganda was raised. So that was the symbol.
A time to reflect on where we are coming from, where we are, and where we are heading. And I want to thank His Excellency for his emphasis at stay years. You think about value addition, because you know we are being cheated. They take our raw materials. We export raw materials. When they reach there, they process them, they bring them back, and we buy them heavily at a higher price. Meaning that we are enriching other countries rather than enriching ourselves.
I'm proud that I'm a Ugandan. I'm proud that at least we are moving forward. If we are moving forward, then we should be proud. And I'm also encouraging my fellow Africans, my fellow Ugandans, that we should not trust only white people. We can also do what we can. We can also achieve what we can. But just because we don't trust in ourselves, we think the white color is the best color. But it's not the best color. You can even do more than what they do.
Congratulations upon reaching the 60 years of independence. It's not easy. 60 years are quite a number. Therefore, when you get a chance, whether you're a nation or a human being, there was celebrating wholeheartedly. I want to thank all Ugandans who have joined us and who have been there virtually to watch these celebrations, also the visiting delegations from outside Uganda. I want to say that the situation may not be as good as some people wish, but tomorrow can be better.
Now, ever since Uganda attained its independence in 1962, there have been different governments in power, but the current regime has served the longest. We spoke to seasoned politician Waswalule, and he had this to say.
As Uganda commemorates its 60th independence, we sought out seasoned politician and former Member of Parliament for Lubaga North, Waswalule, who also is the son of former President of Uganda, the late Yusuf Chironde Lule. According to Waswalule, the previous governments did lots of bad deeds. However, the current regime has not done any good.
During the time of Idi Amin, people used to be disappear. Today, they're bundled into Toyota highest vehicles called drones, and people disappear.
On the issue of education, many people have placed blame on their respective leaders in society for bringing them down.
The colonialists, when they were here, as you said, people are blaming them for setting up a system. But they set up a system according to the environment that was there. If you have an economy that is, let's say, dominated by the sugar industry, you want labor that is qualified to work in that industry. So you train labor to do that. If you have a big motor vehicle industry, you train labor for that industry.
Lule says the quality of education now is substandard.
Another change, of course, during this time is when the quality of education has gone down, particularly in the government schools, is the rise of private schools.
The former Member of Parliament says the promised substantial change that the President promised has not yet been achieved.
I don't agree that when he leaves, that things will necessarily be better. All I know is we have a good chance of the situation being better if we know where we're going. As far as I'm concerned, we're in a situation of uncertainty. Most of his political opponents, who would be my buddies, don't campaign on issues. They don't articulate issues. If they could articulate issues, right, and debate them with the public, with the population during the campaigns, people would begin to understand where we could possibly go if there's a change. But they don't. It's the popular form of politics today is what you call gutter politics. If you can find a policeman and you wrestle him into a gutter, then you're doing well, people will cheer you. But if you talk about issues, that's where the problem is. I think it's a bigger problem. The bigger problem is the uncertainty of where we're going in this transition that has been announced.
According to Lule, if the president Museveni leaves power, there is no guarantee that Uganda will stabilize. Waswa Lule previously served as the Deputy Inspector General of Government from 1989 to 1993.
Well, after the break, don't miss the story of a lady bus driver that will not tolerate any gender-based limitations in the jobs market.
Do you love me?
Very much.
I'll catch you one day. Pants down.
I want to spoil you. I want you to eat my money.
She believes I'm in love with her guy. Will you go? If I had to leave if I'm not loved, where would I end up? The dirty guy hides in the hospital for 40 years, but at night, he walks the streets, commits crimes, and then he comes back and pretends to be for life again. I will break you, Spooky. Do not answer any question about Roho kwa Roho. He's so blind!
Now showing on CTV. Don't blink.
The Campus Carnival is
ride to the city center. She picks her first passengers at Ntenda stage. She keeps on picking and dropping passengers on various stages of the route to the city. But why did she settle on such a career, which is dominated by men?
My passion began when I started driving. That was around 16 years. When I could go for holidays to my aunties and my uncles, they had cars. So they could tell us, please clean this car, and then you find yourself stealing the key.
Rachel Wanga hails from Sese Islands, present-day Kalangala district. She studied industrial arts at Makerere University, and she's a graphic artist by profession. Driving was her childhood passion. She trained to drive all cars, including heavy vehicles like lorries, trucks, and buses. Rachel says she was inspired by her auntie, who used to transport matoke on lorries as a driver.
One of my aunts used to drive lorries, bring matoke from the village to markets and everything. So they are hardworking. So I think I got the passion from them. And again, it is like something that is following me from my aunties and probably other relatives, then coming to me.
Rachel says the stereotypes that only men can drive heavy vehicles is wrong, because the only physical difference between a man and a woman are the genital parts, adding that women can do whatever men can do.
There is no job that is for men. It is not there. It is just a job. You can be a driver, you can be a builder, you can be a welder, you can be anything that men do.
She says her family respects her job, and it has inspired her child, workmates, and friends.
My child is so much like happy with it, because she finds it it is unique to her. And she told me one time, I want to be like you. So I'm like, okay, if you want to be like me, then you have to do what I do. But the other kids, her mates, they are so happy, because let me call myself a celebrity at their school. Yeah, because every time I come, I want to see your mommy, I want to see your mommy. So when I come, they're all happy, they're all gathering, mommy gift has come. So it's fun.
Tondeka's operations manager, Edward Olanyeza, says women, once given an opportunity, can perform all roles in a business.
So we have earmarked in the first phase to have at least 35% of our captains as ladies, but also within the whole organization. And this will build up to 50% within the next 3 to 5 years. 1,300 buses, of which 300 will be electric and 1,000 will be diesel, operating within a radius of 25 to 30 kilometers in the Greater Kampala. Just to give you an idea, we're looking at Mukono, Bombo, Mpigi, that area that we call the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area.
Indeed, Rachel Wanga is one of the women who are breaking career barriers to do what most women fear to do. Martha Amanya, Daniel Etrelu, CTV, PM Edition.
Very inspiring. Now in Somalia, the government, through the Minister of Information, Abdurrahman Yusuf, has banned any media content about Al-Shabaab propaganda. In Chad, Mahamat Idris Itino will stay president of the North and Central African nation until the end of the 2-year transition. Details. In the fight against terrorism in general and the Al-Shabaab extremist group in particular, the Somali government has decided to enforce a new measure. On Saturday, October 7th, the Deputy Minister of Information announced the government banned what it calls the dissemination of extremism ideology messages, both from official media houses and on social media. Abdurrahman Yusuf said, "I want to inform the Somali media and all Somali people in general that we will regard all the Al-Shabaab related propaganda coverage, including terrorist acts and their ideology, as punishable crimes." Speaking to the AFP news agency, Yusuf insisted the decision would not affect normal news coverage about Al-Shabaab by journalists in Somalia. The armed forces, backed by local militias and international allies, have waged a campaign against the Al-Qaeda-linked group, which still controls swaths of the countryside. Earlier this week, the jihadists carried out a deadly triple bombing. The Ministry of Information, in a statement, urged Somalis to report accounts linked to terrorist activities. Chad's National Forum announced Saturday that Mahamat Idris Itino, who took over in April last year after his father's demise, would remain in power during the 2-year transition to elections. At a ceremony boycotted by opposition members, leading armed rebel groups and civil society organizations, the Transitional Military Council, which had ruled the country for the past 18 months, was formally dissolved. Despite calls urging the 38-year-old general not to extend the transition and not to run for president in upcoming elections, the forum, among a raft of resolutions adopted under a revised transition charter, ratified Debby's right to vie for the presidency after the transition. At the end of a ceremony lasting more than 2 hours, he expressed his pride at the forum meetings, which he said have made it possible to get out of the horror scenario. Deby reiterated his commitment to releasing prisoners of war in exchange for a ceasefire and their participation in the national dialogue. The national talks, which were wrapped in N'Djamena, had been launched 7 weeks earlier on August 20th. Away from Africa, China has called out the United States of America to match its actions with its words by creating conditions for dialogue with North Korea. In Iran, hackers hacked a live broadcast on the national television to send a message to the Supreme Leader, Ali Khamenei. The details. China said on Sunday, October 9th, that the United States should create conditions so that dialogue with North Korea can resume. This statement from China came after North Korea fired 2 more ballistic missiles earlier in the day. This was North Korea's 7th launch in recent days. The latest launch caused alarm in political circles of the US, Japan, and South Korea. The missiles were launched 2 days after the US held joint naval exercises with South Korea. On the previous day, Seoul scrambled fighter jets in reaction to an apparent North Korean bombing drill. China pointed to these exercises carried out by the US and its allies when asked about North Korean missile launches. China is a strong backer of North Korea. The US's words should match its reactions. Its stance that it does not bear ill will towards North Korea should translate into actions. It should create the conditions for the resumption of meaningful dialogue, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning told a regular briefing. Meanwhile, Japan has reacted strongly to North Korea's missile launches. Japanese Defense Ministry strongly condemned the missile launches and said that Tokyo would not tolerate repeated actions by North Korea. Both missiles reached an altitude of 100 kilometers and covered a range of 350 kilometers. The first was fired at around 1:47 a.m. local time, and the second one some 6 minutes later. Iranian state TV was hacked during a live broadcast with a message supporting the anti-government protesters as the agitation intensifies and enters the 4th week. On Saturday, during its 9 p.m. show, a mask suddenly appeared on the screen, followed by an image of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei with flames around him. The image contained a Farsi text, "The blood of our youths is on your hands." After that, the photos of those who died during the protest, including Mahsa Amini, the 22-year-old girl who died in the custody of the Iranian morality police, were shown. Above those photos was the image of Khamenei with crosshairs centered on his forehead. The group that hacked the state TV called itself Adalati Ali, or Ali's Justice. For several weeks, hundreds and thousands of protesters, especially women, have been on the streets to protest against the Khamenei regime and calling for change with chants of death to the dictator. Earlier in the day, several videos went viral on social media which purportedly showed female students at a university in Tehran chanting "Get Lost" during a visit by President Ebrahimi Raisi. On the same day, 2 people were killed in Sanadanji, including a man shot in his car after he sounded his horn in support of protesters. Another video shared online showed a woman shot in the neck lying unconscious on the ground in Mashhad. Rights groups have claimed that more than 150 people have been killed since the protests began on September 17th following the death of Amini, who was detained for not following the Islamic dress code. The family had allegedly blamed the morality police for her death. Well, the international wrap takes us for a short break. When we return, sports action.